Yes, so we are live now. We're going to get straight into it. Welcome, listeners. This is once again your host, Shailesh, and your co-host, the beautiful Hailey, who is absolutely going to thrill. And today we are going to touch, as we always bring you, emotional well-being series, which is all about different topics. But today's topic is very, very close to heart to everyone, possibly, because when we are human and when you identify you're human, you cannot separate intimacy from yourself. And I think what today we are going to invite, and we have invited today a guest speaker very much far away from New Zealand. She's not in New Zealand. So she will talk about where she is at the moment and all that. But I'm going to introduce you our guest speaker today, Alexandra Miu, who is a love and relationship coach. And she's going to talk about the topic intimacy. Intimacy is a topic where people can mislead, people can misinterpret. And for intimacy, it's always they think about sex or they think about male and female. But actually, this is very much overview of intimacy that we are going to do today. And I have the pleasure to invite such a beautiful coach, love and relationship coach, who can uncover a lot of things about intimacy. She is a guide, she is a mentor, she does a lot of coaching for people to understand their own self, their self inner. And I think she touches the inner core of human, so which is the important part of our intimacy. So we are going to hear more about that. I'm not going to talk more about that. I don't know much about that. I'm going to learn and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to be very much supported by Hailey, which I'm going to now take you to her so that she can talk a little bit about this topic, and then we can get straight into the guest speaker, Alexandra. Over to you, Hailey.
I think my biggest interest in intimacy in itself is it's very, for me, it's very much about just having almost like a constant state of arousal, or almost like a sexual energy within yourself, but it doesn't even have to relate to sex. I can feel the same way when I'm drawing, when I'm running on a treadmill. And it's like a constant state of happiness and bliss. I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger was talking about how he had achieved that, and people didn't understand. They kept equating it with sex constantly all the time, when he was saying he was in a constant state of arousal. And people, they didn't necessarily respond to it in such a kind way. And sometimes I get the same kind of response when I speak about it, because again, they go straight back to human, man, woman, sex, intimacy. And sometimes I struggle to explain in a coherent way quite what I mean, even though I've achieved it in many ways myself, and it's changed my life in incredible ways. So I feel like this is a really good opportunity for you to be able to explain it for all of us. And next time somebody asks, I will just flip them this and they can have a listen.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you, Hailey. And so, yeah, we'll go straight to Alexandra. Alexandra, tell us something about this. We chose this topic, and I think you are expert in this. We are not, but definitely we would like to learn more. And we learn from each other's, because intimacy to me, to everyone, could be different. All the listeners who are listening today definitely will be going back and thinking about intimacy is not just a taboo or a stigma or what something, but it is a very real thing that happens within ourselves. So I am going to ask you to start this conversation and let us know a little bit about you, about your what you do and how you do, basically.
For sure. First, thank you for having me here. Thank you for everyone watching live or replay, wherever you are. I am actually in Canada right now, so like on the other side of you, in the cold Canada, because it's quite freezing here. So I thank you for all that introduction, all those beautiful words. I believe that we are all experts when it comes to one thing, you, because you are the person that is with you all the time. So regardless of the topics that we're going to talk about tonight, or the questions and answers we're going to go through, or the thoughts that come up, the answer is always within. And to me, intimacy is just goes a bit beyond the physical aspect, goes beyond the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, right? There's so many more things when we talk about intimacy. I've been in the personal development space probably close to 13 years, if not more, right now. And I've been on this journey by myself for many, many years. A lot of people don't believe when I tell them how old I am, but if I were to look back, I'm Romanian. I grew up in Romania. It's the Eastern European country, right? And now I travel the world. I coach. I work with other people from everywhere. I got to live in different parts of the world, like in Malaysia, in Canada, in US. I've been to Bali many times. I did not get to New Zealand yet. But travel is part of my life. And through travel, I got to meet different people and be in different spaces and get to know others. So even though my certification says love, relationship, and sexpert coach, there's so much more to what I can bring to the table, because I bring my own expertise and also my own experience, my life experience. So every time I try something, every time I learn something, I experience it on myself. I experiment with myself. So that way, what I put out there at the end of the day for all of those watching, whatever I say, whatever we talk about, whatever you read or hear or learn from other people, go and try it on your own, experience it, and make sure you have that expertise within yourself, because it doesn't have to be the same for everyone. What I'm putting out there is for you to decide, does this work for me or not? Is this something I want to test out or not? So anytime you hear anyone, any coach, expert, mentor, doesn't matter, you want to make sure that it applies to you and it works for you. So what I always tell everyone is take what resonates. Take what you feel it's within your space, within your lifestyle, within your reality. Because at the end of the day, what I'm all about is for anyone and everyone watching or listening to experience the life that they want. You're not in my shoes, I'm not in your shoes. So hear us out and then go out there and live your life with your own experiences, your own choices, and your own little experiments. So Haley mentioned a few different things. So I want to put this out there. When it comes to certain topics or terms, we all define things in a little different way, right? Think of, I come from Romania. We speak a different language. So I moved to Canada in 2007, then I moved to Malaysia in 2014. I lived in Germany in 2017. So I've been to many different cultures, different languages. I speak multiple languages. And I was just talking to someone yesterday, and I was telling them at the beginning, for many, many years, I would think in Romanian. I would dream in Romanian. So anytime I communicated in English or Spanish or other languages I speak, I would translate in my own head, right? But now the translation may sound different than what my actual sentence or meaning was in my head. So when it comes to words, when it comes to expressing ourselves, we want to make sure that we define things in our own way and we make it very clear. So intimacy can mean different things for different people, right? Sexual or sexual energy can mean different things for different people. Something that Haley mentioned, it made me think of sexual transmutation. That's another term that we can talk about. And we look at what does that mean, how as a general sense or definition, what that looks like, but then how it would apply in your life and what it means to you. Because we all have our own way of expressing ourselves, but also the way you define something, it's in your own personal choice. Like yesterday, I was talking about trust with someone. And we had different ways of looking at it. They were like, oh, but is it trust or is it faith or is it hope? And I realized, I said, you have to see how you define every single word, because maybe something that you believe it's hope and you define it that way. Maybe I define it as trust or something. So in the end, it comes back to your own experience. Hence why a lot of times I talk about intimacy with self. That's the core and the foundation, and it comes back to everything that we do in our life, the intimacy with ourselves. The more we become intimate with ourselves, the better we know ourselves, the closer we are to ourselves. The easier it is to reflect things in the outer world, to reflect things in our relationships. The more I build a strong foundation, a deep relationship with myself, the easier it is to have a great relationship with other people, and not just romantic relationships, because we have relationships with so many people, right? Intimacy is not just between romantic partners. Intimacy between friends and family and parents and children, and you name it. So if we were to look at how intimacy is defined, right? It says closeness, friendship, cozy atmosphere, or a closeness between people in personal relationships. Now, in my mind, intimacy also means being open, being honest, being authentic, being vulnerable, being yourself, true self, and having open and honest and truthful conversations with yourself first, and then with those around you. And the more you practice this, the easier it is to express yourself, to know desires, to know your boundaries, to know your needs, to express those, and to be able to build more intimacy in your life. You do, anytime people think of intimacy, they think physical intimacy, right? The act of physical intimacy. But intimacy is emotional, spiritual, mental, so many more, right? So at the end, now, as we talk about intimacy, is ask yourself, how do you define intimacy? How do you experience intimacy in your life? What do you want when it comes to intimacy? Because I've noticed myself over the years, there are certain desires and needs when it came to intimacy. Right now, intimacy, the biggest desire or the biggest need on my list would be closeness, affection, nurture, care. Physical intimacy, the act of physical intimacy, or the act of being in a physical relationship with someone, is not at the top of the list anymore, because that's not necessarily what I'm desiring or what my heart wants. So where are you?
So this is a good opening that you did, and I wanted to dwell on this topic, intimacy, particularly when you said you have met so many people, you have met so many cultures, you yourself has experienced the languages that you speak on multiple levels. So intimacy, when people think, and what you said just now, that what's intimacy to me? So, or what's intimacy to yourself or someone, everyone. So when we think about that, does the baggage of cultural or traditions or the systems that we are bought in also affects the intimacy interpretation? What would you say in that regard?
It can. Again, culture has a huge impact on us, right? The way I was raised and the way I grew up, and examples I've seen could be different than yours and versus Haley's, right? And even now, think generation. My generation versus the newest generation versus your generation. That's also different, right? And I am not that old, but I'm not very young either. I'm like getting closer to 40, and it's still such a like mind-boggling thought to me. I'm like, whoa, really? Like a few more years, not even a couple of years. So
you don't look 40, by the way.
Sorry?
You don't look 40, by the way. So that's
no, well, not quite there yet. I still have like a couple of years, but I always think and see how we portray certain things, right? What do people see? Like, take my culture. I didn't have access to, let's say, internet or cell phones as fast and at the age that the current generation has. I was not exposed to certain things, aka porn, and I had a different idea of what intimacy looked like or what it was. Now, I did not have a lot of guidance. I did not have a lot of support. I did not have a lot of people to talk about anything that my body or my mind or my heart would experience. I had to go out there and explore and learn it by myself. I think I mentioned to you when we originally connected, I read Sex for Dummies the book Sex for Dummies when I was 15, and I was hiding it under my desk because I knew if my parents catch me, they will punish me for life. But at
Yes.
the end of the day, that book was the foundation of me understanding not just
Yeah.
sex or sexual energy. It also helped because the book talked about the changes in the body as a teen to adult. It talked about relationships. It talked about so many things. And it's funny because I would have not thought to go and look for that book, or I didn't even know where to go to get information I needed. But a colleague of mine, I believe at some point I would always talk and be open to learning, that she came to me and said, "Oh, I think you should read this book. It seems like it's up your alley." So ever since, even now, years later, I connect with my high school girlfriends, and we sit around and we talk about how's life and everything. And I remember 3 or 4 years ago, they were asking me what I'm doing. And at the moment I was working in Germany with a conscious sexuality online digital company. So I was just explaining to my best capacity in my language, which I didn't learn a lot of terms when it comes to intimacy or sexuality in my language. So I'm like trying to make sure that they get what I'm doing. And then one girl from across the table, she's like, "Oh, that's so you. That's always been you since high school." And I was like, I did not even realize, because to me, it's something normal to question things, to be curious, to want to learn more, to know more, because I'm with myself all the time. What are these needs that come up? What are these desires and feelings and sensations and thoughts and emotions? Why am I having them? Where are they coming from? What can I do with them? How can they benefit me? How can I help others? Learning all this, right? So I love that about us as human beings. So yes, culture can make a difference. Society can make an impact. The way you were raised, the school you attended, the people around you, and the things you're exposed to. So I hope everyone broadens their horizon a little bit.
So do you think there is a big kind of a difference between what the community and the society perceives intimacy as when we walk around, when we talk around, when we walk around, Do you think this is something like what community and what we live in around environment, they perceive intimacy in a way? And then when you look at the inner side, which you are quite now understood the whole meaning of when you mentor and when you guide, the spiritual essence, the essence of yourself, what you have been, what I can hear from you, always look into your own self and what it means to you and how you perceive and how you interpret. So when coming to that, what would you say spiritually, that spiritual wise looking at, and the community and the society that perceives intimacy as? Is there a huge kind of a awakening that needs to happen in that regard?
I mean, we don't want to scare anyone off and say you're going to have to do a lot of work and this is huge for you to achieve, right? It does require some work for us to go within. And I believe when we talk about work, it's just that we're not used to the idea of let me do a self-assessment, but a very truthful and honest self-assessment. Let me fully accept myself with all the things that are great and good about me and the things that are not. We don't always enjoy digging into the things that make us uncomfortable, that make us feel bad, and so on, right? So if we were to look at the impact or the shifts that may need to happen around us, I believe the biggest shift is getting rid of shame and shaming people. Because yes, intimacy can be interpreted different. Like I said, we all have our own perception of life and lifestyle, and we all perceive, at the end of the day, we all perceive the world through our own experiences, right? So the biggest thing for me was shame. I grew up in a family, very religious grandma and mom. So anything that came down to physical intimacy or sex, sexuality, or relationships, or kissing, or picking out, or holding hands, that was very taboo, right? We didn't talk about these things. And I don't even think they knew much about it. So now we wonder why certain relationships were the way they were, or the experience they've had, it was so limited that caused other issues, right? So for me, shame is the biggest thing that we should all change. This whole world should just get rid of shame. Because if I were to think, shame versus guilt.
Yeah.
Guilt tells you you've done something wrong. You took an action that was wrong, that you probably knew was wrong. So now you should correct that. So if you steal, you can feel guilty and you have a chance to correct that. If you lie, if you like do things right. So guilt could help us make a shift in our life or change in a way that is positive. Shame, on the other hand, tells you you are bad for just who you are. You are wrong for thinking that. You are bad for saying that, right? Yeah. So I've had a divorce many, many years ago, and it was hard. It was very hard to go through it, considering I also had the family who would just tell me, well, go back, figure it out. Like, it didn't matter what abuse or what I had to go through. It was just like, you do not, like, what would people say? So I had to deal with a lot of emotional distress. The biggest thing that I worked on was shame. I'm going to get rid of shame. I'm not ashamed I made this choice. I'm not ashamed I didn't choose to stay into something that was not helpful. And I made peace and accepted I am a sexual human being, and I'm not ashamed of that. And I will live my life on my terms, because no one is in my shoes, no one is paying my bills. And at the end of the day, if I am unhappy, if I am unhealthy, what do you think is going to happen around me? How will I show up in the world? How will I interact with other people, with my family, friends? How can I take care of others if I cannot even take care of me? So shame is number one, I would say. A big, 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 get rid of it. Wow. Heal it. Let it go. It's literally, if you look at the frequency, energy frequency, shame is at the bottom. And when people experience shame over time and constantly go through it, they harm their body physically. You can get sick physically because of shame. So I don't say shame on you, not even to other people, not even to myself. How many times, like anyone watching here, how many times do you think, oh, shame on me? Or like, shame on you, oh, shame on them. What are you putting out there? Because words have a frequency, have an energy behind them, right? So I don't say shame on you. There's no such thing. At the end of the day, whatever choices I make, I am responsible and take ownership of. Am I perfect? No, I'll never be perfect. I am a human being in a finite physical body. So that makes me imperfect already. And I will just acknowledge, okay, I made a mistake. Do I need to apologize? Do I need to say sorry? Do I have to forgive someone, forgive myself, and then move on? There's no shame on you or shame on me. The way we communicate changes a lot of things in your life, especially when it comes to intimacy.
Sure.
What's a few ways where people can, a few methods that people can take away from this to start communicating with themselves in a way that promotes intimacy, just on a small level that provides a little bit of joy, gives them a little bit of a taste as to what is actually possible for them, but in a way that's not too intimidating. Just little things that they could do throughout the day to just slowly build up their capacity and just get a little taste tester of what's possible.
That's a great question. And when we think intimacy, we don't have to go to extreme lengths and say, what does that look like? How does it look like? Well, first of all, intimacy with self. I say start intimacy with self. Understand yourself better than anyone else. One tool I use and I always recommend to everyone is journaling. Journaling, even if it's 5 minutes, it helps a lot with building more intimacy with yourself. And you can journal in multiple ways. You can journal what happened in your day or what you're going through the day. But I say take journaling to another level. Ask questions in your journaling. How am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? Where is that coming from? What can I do to change it? Or do I want to change it? If I'm feeling great, okay, label everything. What type of feeling am I getting? Peace, excitement, joy, relaxation. Like, make sure you understand what you're feeling. Then where are you feeling? When you're feeling joy and excitement, where does that feel into your body? Have you ever tuned into your body? Because emotions and feelings reside somewhere in the body. Have you ever noticed when you're angry or frustrated how your body feels? Like my ears burn, right? Or I get like a lump in my throat. your body will tell you even a split second before you're feeling something. And then before you're experiencing a sensation. So get really, really good at knowing yourself better than anyone else, building that intimate connection with yourself. Have conversations with yourself. Alexandra, what am I feeling right now? Oh, I'm tired. Why? What happened? It was a busy day. Okay, what do I need? Relaxation. How can I achieve that? Ooh, take a bath. Oh, perfect. Now I'm excited. So go down this route. It's simple. You could do it in your own mind, but when we write things down, we take them out of our head. We put them on a piece of paper. We don't keep a million thoughts circulating. We don't overwhelm ourselves. And sometimes when we see things on a piece of paper or things we write with our own hand, we can be more conscious and more aware of them. Sometimes you're not aware how often throughout your day you feel angry or frustrated or anxious, right? Those feelings affect everything you do. How do you want to cozy up to your partner if you're feeling distressed and you're feeling frustrated? Like you're going to bring all that energy and that emotion to your relationship, right? So journaling is the main tool, simple, easy tool that I always recommend. You don't want to write, you don't know how to start, go out there. They're like $5 journals with questions already that prompt you. I have a little journal that I use now for the past 3 years. I got it on Amazon and it says 365 questions, one question a day. And then you have the date and then you answer, you put the year and you answer. And then I sometimes read, I was like, oh, what did I say 2 years ago? What did I feel 2 years ago, right? And then I have another journal. I'm like, I love journals. I have like a million around me, but I have one for manifestation. So then I start writing things I want to experience in present tense. I am having a great day today. All the things that I've had on my to-do list are accomplished. I am relaxed. I'm excited. And what do you think happens when you tell yourself already great things that you want to see? More of that comes into your life. If you don't believe me, try it out. But you have to be consistent with it. And don't do things like I heard someone tell me the other day, well, I could say this, but nothing changes. Well, if you say it in a way or you think, yeah, this is not going to work, but I'm having a great day. That's not going to work, right? Like at the end of your day, the brain, it's the most powerful tool you have. What you tell yourself, you eventually believe. Think of the exercise with the lemon, right? People are put into like a meditative state and then they imagine a lemon, you cut it, you smell it, and then you bite into it. And then your body salivates. You do not bite into anything because that exercise shows you how powerful your mind is. Your mind doesn't know that something is truly happening right now, or you're just telling it it's happening. So affirmation is the second thing you could do to build more intimacy, to get to know yourself more. Affirm things into your life that you want to see more. If you want to take it to a next level, use incantations. Affirmations are words, like you can have post-its around your desk and things like that. But incantations are affirmations with emotion and physical movement. So if anyone knows Tony Robbins, he's all about incantations. And he has this movement where he hits his chest and says, I am great, I am amazing, right? Because it's like tapping and you're solidifying something into your body, into your cells. Now, I do not like to tap my chest. I'm more on the feminine side. So dance. If you don't like to have like intense action, I know a lot of guys who like to pump themselves up. I got this. Whatever works for you. You have to find out what works for you. So journaling, affirmations, incantations, and then you take it to the next level and have a conversation with someone. Say, I want to have a 5-minute raw, honest conversation. Let's go. And ask questions. Figure out what other people perceive about you. Because what I noticed in my life at some point, in my world here internally, I was all bubbly and excited and good. And on the outer world, people are like, you're cold, you're distant, you don't communicate. These worlds do not look the same because I would not express certain things or I would pull back, right? So then I learned, oh, so what happens why people perceive me that way. Am I afraid? Am I worried about something? Am I like closing off? So you work through these things. That's why intimacy with self is at the core of everything. Because then you can show up in the world in a different way. People think, oh, you changed. I didn't change. I became more of my true self. I became more of my authentic self, of my true honest self. And that's the goal I made at one point. I read a book. It's called The Gifts of Imperfection. And she talks about authenticity and being authentic. And I was like, oh, I want to be authentic most of the time, because there will be times when sometimes I have to make sure that the people around me don't get shocked, because authenticity can also shock at times when people don't see you that way. So we all talk about, if I haven't been back home in like a few years, whoever sees me after a few years, they remember me in a certain way. So now they see me and they're like, oh, who's this person? So that's why at times I'm mindful of my energy, like hitting someone. But I did make a commitment to myself to live authentically and honestly with myself, because that's the hardest part, to be honest with yourself, and then with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
That was fantastic. I loved it. Something I hear a lot. I do have a lot of these kind of conversations with friends and often strangers, actually. I don't know how it happens. Maybe there's something they sense in me, my openness to want to chat about it. But what I hear a lot of the time, and I know this goes back to people's perceived idea of intimacy, but it's this inexplicable loneliness that people experience, usually when they're single, but often even in a relationship. But primarily when people are single and they're just it's like heartbreakingly lonely. And I can see the pain in their eyes when they talk about it. And I feel like it's because they're searching for that intimacy with somebody else. Do you have any advice for how they can find that within themselves in a way that somebody else would usually give? So not quite the excellent advice that you gave just then, but almost like or almost like a sexual, not quite sexual, but that same kind of cozy intimacy that a partner would give you if you come home and go sit on the couch together and watch a movie. You know, if you're just on your own doing that, what's something that they can do just to waylay that loneliness and feel less of a need to go and seek that out with somebody else?
Yeah. And I think you're also, because as you were talking, I'm thinking affection, nurture, care. Yeah. So again, we come back to however you're defining that intimacy or craving. Yeah. And it's funny because I just did some small little videos on Instagram about feeling lonely and alone. Oh, and cool. I'm about to release a larger video on YouTube. But when we talk about feeling lonely and alone or not experiencing any kind of intimacy, right? Physical, emotional, doesn't matter what kind of experience you're looking for, but you don't have it. At times it could be difficult, right? Considering the world and all that happened in the past 2 years, we isolated a lot more. We end up being on our own a lot more. We are away from people a lot more. So I think it affected us in a deeper way, right? When we talk about feeling lonely and alone, I want everyone to think of two things. Feeling lonely and alone comes down to the perception that we have about our own solitude. And then the craving that we get to receive certain things from some people. We learn to give ourselves the things that we crave for. And yes, acknowledge and be okay with the fact that it won't feel the same as when you get it from another person. You can give yourself pleasure. It's different when you experience pleasure with another person, right? It's not better, it's not worse. I mean, in some cases, but it's not like, oh, giving yourself pleasure is the lesser version than getting it from someone else or with someone else. It's part of your experience. They're all there to make your experience better. So one, what's your perception or your relationship with your solitude? When you're single and alone, or maybe you're in a relationship or around people and you still feel alone, even worse, right?
Mm.
We need to look at how you perceive your own solitude and what do you do during your solitude time. That's the perfect time for you to build an intimate relationship with yourself, to enjoy your own company, to discover, what am I all about? What do I like? Isn't solitude amazing? You don't have to pretend to be anyone. You don't have to put up on a mask. You can be yourself in solitude, your most authentic and honest self. So find why you don't like solitude. If that's one of the reasons you may feel lonely or alone, if you don't enjoy solitude time, why not? Perfect time to journal, perfect time to watch a movie and laugh on your own, take a bath, do self-care, discover what are your hobbies, what are your interests. And again, in solitude time, you can discover, what am I craving right now from another person or another human being? Why am I craving that? Am I giving myself affection, nurture, care? Because sometimes we crave things because we do not even provide it for ourselves. So start with that. Solitude time, change the way you look at your solitude, make peace with it, embrace solitude time, and utilize it for your growth. It's the perfect time for growth. And I was looking into this and I found an article. The older generations, 40, 50, but 60 plus, they experienced less lonely time or feeling lonely or alone than the newer generation. It's not because they were less lonely or alone. It's because they used the solitude time to develop a skill, to spend time with themselves, to learn about themselves, to grow. So nowadays we're connected to the phone, to social media, to being with people. And then on your own, you're faced with what? Yourself, your true self. And at times it's not easy to admit, but if you cannot enjoy your company, if you cannot make the most of your own company, how is your company around other people? How do other people enjoy your company? So make peace with solitude and learn to use solitude for your own benefit. And then the second piece, the craving or desiring things from other people, anything, sexual interaction, emotional interaction, nurture, affection, all of that. Start building it in your life in different ways. You can't put all the desires and needs onto one person. If you're in a relationship, your partner should not be your only source of entertainment and enjoyment and care and nurture and protection. Imagine the pressure we put on each other. We did not, like back in the day, if we look hundreds of years back, the community was providing a sense of belonging. The girl time or like spending time with women or men provided a different thing, right? Spending time with family. So learn to create an environment or a lifestyle that provides different things for you. I spend a lot of time alone. I travel on my own. I work 100% remote. So I work from home that sometimes I have to remember, when did I go out last time? Because I can get lost into all of this, right? But I made such a deep connection with my solitude time where sometimes I'm craving it. If I end up having to go home and visit family and relatives, I'm like, okay, I need a week to be alone, right? Because I enjoy spending time on my own as I refine myself in those moments. I grow in that woman and the version of woman that I envision. So I talk about become the best version of yourself in your own image. Do you even know what that means for you? Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever asked yourself, what is my own image of myself? What is my image of myself in the world? And are you living that best version of yourself? Spend time in becoming a high value self. What does that mean to you? What does a high value self look like for you? The more you focus on yourself to be the best version of yourself in your own image, not what others expect of you or want of you, and being a high value self, then you show up and attract more high value selves in your life. Then you show up and things happen and people give to you because you're already giving out there because you are showing up as your best version, as your high value self. So be mindful of the thoughts you have, the words and the emotions you have, and what you tell yourself. If you crave something and say, oh, I wish I had someone who could hug me right now. It's a bit of like self-pity moment. Hug yourself. Hug yourself. I know it may feel silly and funny at times, but you have to do these things with yourself. You can parent yourself. You have an inner child here that craves certain things. Parent your own inner child, your own heart. Learn to love yourself, equal, accept, fully self-accept anything about you. I am needy. During holidays, I grew up with a lot of traditions. So holidays for me, they're more emotionally charged. I see couples. Oh, if I'm single, right? I'm like, oh, I want it, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in a needy moment right now. So what do I need? What do I need to give myself? Oh, I want to spend some time with friends and family. Okay, I call and connect and hang out with some people. But again, it comes down to what is my solid time telling me? How can I make the most out of it? And then I go out there and show up in a healthy way where I'm not dependent on someone's energy, or I'm not dependent on someone's affection. There will be times when you will crave it more than others from other people. But if you build yourself as your best version of yourself, as your high value self, you will have less and less dependencies out there. And the rest just becomes like the cherry on top. I love pleasure. I can give myself pleasure probably better than anyone because I've spent time exploring myself. But I love pleasure with a partner. I would never say, oh yeah, I mean, I'm the best at this because I know myself. I am great at giving myself pleasure, but I love exploring pleasure with another human being. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be both. And at times I'll just spend time with myself, and at times I'll spend time with someone else. So again, come back to, how do you see solitude? What do you experience during solitude? If it's uncomfortable, why? What's coming up for you? Journal those things. Always go down on that rabbit hole of self-discovery, and then create that vision of yourself. What does your best version of yourself look like? Behave like, show up like, dress up like, speak like. Another word I cut out of my vocabulary is heartbreak. My heart never breaks. No one breaks my heart. My heart aches. I suffer. I experience pain, sadness. Those are normal. Those are real things. But my heart can break because, one, if my heart breaks, I'm dead. Two, energetically, you can't break your heart. You feel certain aches and pains and suffering, but it won't break. It's still there. And imagine thinking, he broke my heart. She broke my heart. What are you telling yourself? Another person outside of you has so much control, not over your physical body, but your energetic body, your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, and they literally broke you. What are you telling to your body and your cells, right? Considering how powerful the mind and the body is. I don't tell that. Never say that word anymore. You have heartache. Yes, I get it. Let's work through healing and forgiveness and moving on and empower yourself to be even a better version of yourself next time. But nothing breaks. You're not broken for having certain thoughts and desires about intimacy, physical intimacy. You're not broken for not wanting it. You're not broken for wanting it all the time. You're never broken. You just have to refine certain parts of you, or come to certain terms with it, or heal, recover, forgive, and move on.
I think what you touched on is a very interesting and a very intimate kind of a conversation about your own emotional well-being. Because what you were all I could hear is how we can maintain our emotional well-being. To be honest, this is what I felt when you were all talking about each time, every time, whatever analogies you were giving and experiences of your own. And this is what the listeners should understand, that this is not, intimacy is not just a topic where taboo or stigma can be attached to it, but it is all our emotional well-being that is related to this topic. And what I could hear, the spiritual awakening or the self-realization of your own self will make you less dependent on the things that you normally ask for or seek for as attachments. And attachments will always give you grief and misery, if I hear it correctly. Alex? What do you think?
Attachments, expectations, right?
Expectations.
Some people and some teachings and concepts even stay away from the word desire, because desire can be so intense. But for me, desire, I'm not holding on to desire and say, oh, never go, never go, never go, right? So for me, desire is something beautiful, but some people feel like I desire something so intensely that if I'm not getting it, I suffer. So as long as you're not in suffering states, and as long as you define certain words or experiences that are positive for you, yes. But I would do my best to not have high expectations or a lot of expectations on other people, because we can control anything, really.
Absolutely.
Like nothing outside of us. Sometimes, let's be honest, we cannot even control ourselves. Okay.
No, exactly.
So
100%. I agree.
let's cut off expectations. Let's cut off like all these things that literally hold us hostage to anything and everything, right?
Yeah, just like I say that thoughts keeps coming to us and you can't control them and you can't say stop it or enough for me. They will keep coming. It's up to you how you manage them, how you choose them, and how your emotional mind is treating them, basically.
Yeah, I think that's the piece. It's choice, right?
It's the choice.
Like at the end of the day, yes, do I feel sad sometimes, or I've experienced loneliness? Because I do spend a lot of time alone, and I do crave certain things, but I don't let it drag me down for days on end. I don't let it impact me and say, oh, now I'm just going to go first person I meet, I do this, right? I make choices that are healthy or empowering, that are good for me. And again, we don't judge choices, as long as two things: you don't harm yourself and you don't harm others.
Correct.
If you are taking care of yourself and it is a temporary choice, and it is like, I'm just going to go and have some physical intimacy with someone right now because I crave that, and you're responsible for your choices and for what comes after, and you are aware that you're making that choice consciously, go for it. If it doesn't harm you and doesn't harm others, that's fine. That's the question. Am I doing something to harm myself right now? Then don't do it. Be mindful of that. Don't make choices that could harm you long term, or that could, I've experienced it even myself, as in my youth. I would probably hook up with someone and then regretted it after. That's not healthy. That was not a healthy choice. That was harming myself, because in the end, I chose something that my body, or maybe my heart or my mind, were not in agreement with. So have an agreement between your physical body, your mind, and your heart. Is it a yes? My heart pulls me towards this. Yes. Is my mind pulled? Yes. Is my body open and ready and I'm pulled towards this? Yes. Great. But if you're in disagreement, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should, but I do, but I don't. Like, take a breath, take a moment. Just might as well journal or listen to something that supports you making the right choice, the healthy choice for yourself, right? And I wanted to circle back a little bit to what Haley was saying at the beginning. You can achieve certain states with yourself. So you were mentioning thoughts, right? Certain thoughts come and we can control them. Hence, meditation for me, when I heard about it, like, I don't know, 15 years ago, I was like, I can't meditate. I have like an ongoing brain. My mind doesn't stop. I already have a hard time sleeping and falling asleep. So meditation, I'm like 3 seconds in and I'm like, okay, this doesn't work. Then I end up doing Vipassana meditation in Malaysia. And I loved how they were talking about the fact that you will have thoughts. Your brain will not stop thinking, because that's its purpose. What you get to do during meditation is make a choice. Go with the thought, get caught in the thought, or let it go. Not go anywhere with the thought. Center back, right? I loved it. I went and I did it twice, even though it's hard, like not talking for 10 hours, meditating for 10 hours or whatever, right? Or 10 days, not talking for 10 days, first one. It was intense for someone like me. I literally thought I'm going to have like a brain malfunction, because like I've seen my thoughts in a different way. I'm like, I'm having a fever. How can my brain think so much? Right. But that showed me that I can meditate by just walking in a park and being present to everything, not think of a million things. You can meditate during your physical intimacy. Physical intimacy can become spiritual, and sacred sexuality can change everything. It comes down again back to that presence and experiencing certain states with yourself.
Yeah.
So Haley at the beginning was talking about how you could experience, or she was hearing from someone else, so you can experience orgasmic states without a physical act. Yes, because we are all powered up by life force, which is the most powerful energy, which is our sexual energy. We come into the world through sexual energy. We exist because of it. We wouldn't exist otherwise. So that energy is the most powerful creative energy. And it's the energy that you can transmutate, meaning you can change it. You can transform it into something else. So your sexual energy is not just, oh, I'm aroused, I want to have sex. I'm aroused, I'm like turned on, I'm ready to hump someone. Sexual energy, it's felt in a certain part of your body, right? If we talk about chakras, it's felt in the lower two chakras. So that energy, if you start feeling it in your body, then through breath work, you can amplify it through your whole body. Then you can experience orgasmic states from not just, oh, release. What we know orgasm is, it's a release. Well, orgasmic states can be shivers on your skin, could be a shiver down your spine. Learn again to reframe and redefine what orgasmic state means. In Tantra, orgasmic states are anything and everything. Eye gazing at the sun, and you're like in awe of it. That can be an orgasmic state. If we talk Tantra, it's a lifestyle. It's not just the sexual act or the physical act. Tantra is a lifestyle where anything and everything you do becomes pleasureful. The way you eat, the way you enjoy what you eat, what you drink, what you see, what you hear. You embed pleasure in everything you do throughout your day. Have you ever played a song and you're like, oh my God, it felt good in your body, felt good in your ears. You're like, I love this song, it's amazing, and you relate with it. It's pleasureful, right? Have you ever ate something and you're like, oh, the best thing ever? Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. Pleasure is not just in your genitals. Pleasure is everything, in everything you do, if you learn how to create more of it in your life. So when you transmutate your sexual energy, you become more creative, you become more energized, you become more grounded. So you always work with your life force. A lot of times people think, oh, when I have an orgasm, I release, I let go, I'm depleted. Your energy doesn't go anywhere. You can circulate that energy. In fact, when you have an orgasmic state, you have so much energy. And I think women have an easier time, even innately, like naturally, without thinking, where it says, oh, men pass out after having sex, and women are like ready to do anything and everything, because our energy probably circulates in a different way. But both men and women can have multiple orgasms, can have multiple orgasmic states, and can be powered up, because you have to be mindful and not feel like you're seeping energy, like you're just giving it away. You give and receive, you circulate back, so you're never depleted. That's why I can work 14, 15, 16 hours days. That's why I can have a physical interaction with a partner long-term where I don't feel depleted. So there's multiple ways you can transform, transmutate your energy. And if you make peace with the fact that sexual energy is not just for sex, you can become super creative. I know people who use their sexual energy to write a book, complete a project. Think men, a lot of times when they're amped up and pumped up, they go to gym. They work out harder, they can go longer because the energy is there. And to try these out, like there's small little exercises you could do with yourself. Figure out where this energy is in your body. And the easiest way to figure it out is during arousal, because you need to know, so you need to create a base. How does this energy feel, right? When you're aroused, if you literally stop and tune into the body, how does it feel in my body? How is it moving through the body? Is it vibrating? Is it pulsating? Like, is it growing from my genitals to my tummy to my chest? Like, what's happening during arousal? And then don't act on it, but do something else. Work out or write something, or I don't know, whatever you do in your life. I work a lot with writing and creating, right? But do something different. And then next time When you're not aroused, go and do the same thing. Let's say you go to the gym, compare your energies, compare your body. And then can you amplify that energy without needing someone to turn you on? Can you, through your breath, activate yourself? I had a moment in my Vipassana meditation, because they teach you certain exercises, right? And then like I had the exercise in Vipassana was to feel the top of your head, and then you literally just explore your whole body and you feel the sensations and all that. I had an experience where I felt like I literally disintegrated, and I'm like, this is better than an actual physical orgasm. And I was so present to every single little thing I felt and experienced. And I can put myself back into that state through breath and through visualizing my energy in a certain part of my body, moving through my body. You can do guided meditations, guided visualizations to talk about light in your body and things like that. Tools, they're everywhere. You can find anything and everything you want. But you have to be curious and ask questions and explore yourself and the rest.
Well, what I could hear, Alexandra, beautiful insights that you are giving me and to the audiences. One thing I noticed, like, because when I started this emotional well-being series, this is all about self-realization. This is all about seeking. This is all about exploring, as you have been talking constantly, curious about yourself, then others. Curious and exploring about yourself, then others, depending on yourself, then others. You know, everything this comes back to the self-realization, or I call it spiritually self-realized. And spiritually self-realized is nothing to me. Spiritual is not a big word. It's just a simple how you utilize your own organs, how you utilize your own mind and body and soul for your own purpose and benefits. So you can use your own energy to evolve and also explore that energy around you and surround you. Automatically, by default, it goes. And then it makes your environment also beautiful and self-realized environment. That's what I feel after talking to you, and confirms, gives me a good confirmation about my understanding about spirituality and about the way we evolve. And you're right, sexual energy on sexual, that is a very natural ingredient, part and parcel of our human being. That's why we came here through that, and we will evolve and keep evolving through that, basically. So beautifully said that, Alexandra. We're probably running out of now time for some time, but I wanted to just touch on the topic that we are today doing. What's the, you said all these things, and one thing I could understand, and audiences should know, that you can live your own, you can create your own, and you can also everything manage on your own. You don't need dependency. You don't need attachments, relationships, all that is there. We already come with those relationships. You just have to find which one is good for you and which one is benefiting you, which one is really core for you. That's what I felt. So what will be your message in terms of the intimacy and the emotional well-being that we are talking about this? Intimacy is a big part and parcel of your emotional being, who you are, what you are as a human being. So what's your message when it comes to maintaining your emotional calmness rather than going for meditation or vipassana? I've got a different view on the vipassana. Like, people like to do meditation by not talking or not talking for 10 days or 10 hours. But I have got a different view on that. The other side of my coin through my spirituality awakening is, I think people should keep doing things rather than not doing things. Yes, not talking also is a doing thing. One of the things that we do, not talking or only keeping.
Especially if you talk all the time, right?
Yeah. Especially if you talk all the time, yeah. But if you keep doing things other than just not doing things, that also is a good meditation, like cooking food or having cleaning your house the way you want. And that feels better. As you said about the music, I totally relate to that. When you want to have a music that resonates with you, everything in your body actually vibrates, and you feel the sensation of those words and the music and everything, the environment. So emotional well-being definitely depends on lots of things, and it all depends on how you handle it. What is your message to the audience that are listening, that how do they come out of their comfort zone of becoming self-realized? you know.
Hmm.
That's a big thing for anyone. As you said, like if somebody is going through same pattern, to change themselves into looking into themselves or innermost in themselves becomes a challenge, and they think, I don't want to do it, or I can't do it. You know, they like to always do with others.
Yeah.
How would they change that?
I mean, we could spend hours upon hours
I
talking
know.
about this. There's
So,
only so much we can pack in an hour, right?
of course, but I would
Related,
love to.
related to your question, so the way I live my life is I don't put a lot of limitations on myself, and I accept. When I talk about self-love, I talk about self-acceptance. I accept that there will be times when I am not motivated, I am not ambitious, I don't feel like doing certain things, and that is part of me. It happens, it comes up, I accept it. And I make sure that if it happens, then I tune in and see, what do I need? I need rest, I need relaxation, I need to take away all my work because probably it's overwhelming me. So I just watch movies. So don't, if you think of your life, don't feel pressured that you have to live in a certain way or that you have to do certain things. Again, we come back, if you want to go down through your own self-discovery journey, your own emotional well-being, your intimate experience, it comes back to you. What do you truly need? And that we talked about today is, where are you right now and what do you need? You want to test out meditation? Try different kinds, because Vipassana is the one that challenged me the most, because I couldn't talk and write and read and listen to anything for 10 days, and you don't speak for 10 days. So that challenged me the most, which made me go inside more. And then I realized I'm not someone who would do this over and over again, but I had a different understanding of meditation. And then I found that working with my sensations in my body, that's even better for me when it comes to meditation. Listening to guided meditation or frequency healing music, that works better for me. Some people could do moving meditation, could do like you have to test. Where are you? What do you really need? If you were to finish or leave after today, it's your time, take this question with yourself. What do I need right now? And what do I need to do to achieve that? And ask yourself over and what do I need right now? What do I need to do to achieve that? But be honest and authentic with yourself. It's your own journey of self-discovery, of self-growth, of becoming the best version of you, becoming a high-value self. What does that look like for me? And what do I need to do to get there? Right? And there's not one answer. There is no magic pill. There is not one thing that will solve your life. You will end up working on certain parts of you and you think, I got this. And then life says, no, you don't. Try again, right? And that's fine. Accept that, because that's the beauty of it. Imagine if it was light all the time, what would our experience be? Or imagine if it was hot all the time or cold all the time. Like, we have contrasts because we get to appreciate certain things. Hence the contrasts in life of ups and downs, happiness and suffering, or pain and joy. There is no one constant, and I would not want to be in one constant, because you become a little flat and desensitized, right? If you have certain experiences, I've had an experience once where I felt like I could see a timeline of my life with the biggest struggles in my life, but from a third party, removed, just observer. And my first initial thought, I could see all the sufferings, and I've had quite a lot: divorce, no money, car crash, I thought I'm going to die, many things that happened in my life. And I saw this timeline and I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's so beautiful. And I was like, I think my suffering timeline is beautiful. I was like, oh, what is happening here? Because I realized when you remove yourself and your emotional charge is just a life experience. I've grown the most from my struggles. I've learned the most from my struggles. And I've learned that I have so much resilience and so much power. I can overcome anything.
Yeah.
In the moment, I may not think that way sometimes. I'm like, oh, why? Right? And then you center and then rebalance yourself or harmonize yourself and say, oh, you know what? I did overcome this and this and that. And I went through this and that. And I'm still here and I'm still thriving because I made a choice. Now, there are times when you're still stuck in certain cycles and stuck in certain experiences. And you say, why? But why me? But why me? But what are you doing about it? And why you're still holding yourself there? No one will ever tie you to a relationship,
Absolutely.
job, a house, a city, anything but yourself. You're the only one who holds yourself. And it's hard sometimes to accept I am holding myself in an unhealthy pattern or in an unhealthy relationship or in an unhealthy thought. Imagine if I were and tell someone, oh, your partner cheated on you. You're also partly to blame for that. And I try to use blame mindfully because I don't put blame, but you're partly responsible for when a partner cheats. How would you feel about that? You probably say, this girl is crazy. How? The other person cheated. They're the problem.
Yeah.
Relationship with two people. We all take responsibility and should take responsibility for the impact that we have in our relationship. A person goes out there or breaks their word or changes their vows or whatever you want to define it, not just because they had something going on. It's a relationship. It's a partnership that caused something. So can you make peace with the fact that you're responsible for the great things in your life and also for not the great things in your life, right? So if we think of your emotional well-being, we think of your self-discovery journey, come with one question. Where am I right now? What do I want and how can I get there? What do I need to do? What do I need to experience? What am I craving the most? Why? Constantly just discover parts of you, because as you get answers about yourself, you get answers about others. I got to learn about other women in my life by discovering my thoughts, emotions, needs, desires, boundaries, and so on. I got to discover about the men in my life because of what I'm experiencing, what I'm not communicating versus what I'm communicating. So when you go on this journey, it's not just, oh, I'm getting to know myself better. You also get to know others better. You also get to interact with others better because now you know. If you're on the journey and someone is not, you may help them. You may guide them there. You may be more patient. You may be more understanding. It may not be their time to go on this journey. So then that way you interact differently. Sometimes people snap at us and freak out and like argue. How would it be if you respond with kindness instead? Because you're thinking they're struggling probably with something that they are just using that as the reason to explode onto someone else. Imagine the impact that would be on someone. Instead of you reacting and acting the same, you just hold space. So it comes down to, it's your choice how your journey is going to look like. And it's your own responsibility to take care of yourself first. When you're well, others will be well. When you're doing well and you can take care of yourself, you can be of service and help others and take care of others better. Otherwise, it's not going to really work. And make peace with the fact that you don't have to be at level 100 from day one. You will have days when you're not going to feel like it, and you will face things over and over again because you learn different things every time. It's like reading the same book or watching the same movie. You learn different things. So don't limit yourself. Don't put pressure. Now I'm going to meditate and journal and do this and do that. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do it all because it's too much. Do one thing, then another, then another. And at the end, I always ask myself, what do I really want in my life right now? How do I want to experience my life? What makes me happy? What brings me joy? How do I show up in the world? Because that will make a shift into my life. And there will be days when I don't do that. I watch movies, I binge watch any kind of TV show I want. I eat, sleep, and rest and do nothing regarding my self journey discovery. Because that's fine too. Accept, and then grow from there. Don't accept unhealthy behavior, acknowledge, and then learn to overcome, heal, recover. But accept that certain things will happen, will come into your life. It's fine. That's life. And then we make choices again from there.
I think it's a good way of putting it, in our life journey, our self journey, or our transition that we make every single moment from one thing to another, but also accept everything that comes in our way, whether we like it or we don't like it. But we have got a choice how to accept that. But acceptance is very important. Acknowledgement is very important. So I think we have touched on the core values of the emotional well-being that really disturbs us, because we don't accept, we don't acknowledge, and we restrict ourselves, and we think that this is the only way, or this is the only way I can and I can't. But actually, there are lots of ways. You just haven't really been accepting just the way it is. And so this is a very good message, and Alex, from your point of view as an emotional well-being topic that we brought this today. Finally, I wanted to listen to all the audiences and tell them that, look, Alex is not just a coach or a mentor, but she has experienced herself, and that's how she became one. So you also can become one. That's what the message she's relaying. And she's also telling you that just discover yourself inner and do whatever you feel like. But as she mentioned very clearly, one thing that we don't like is unpleasantness to ourselves. So when we don't hurt ourselves, we can't hurt others as well. So that's all the message I can take it from your powerful message, which also connects and interacts with our emotional well-being. When you are unpleasant, our emotional well-being is also disturbed. When we are pleasant, our emotional well-being also is disturbed. But there is a disturbance of good way and bad way, or the way that you like it or you don't like it. So that's what I will put it this way. Anything finally Haley wants to ask or say on this topic, and then we'll ask Alexandra to finish the whole conversation. But beautiful, beautiful messages, Alex.
I just want to say thank you so much for giving us your time and such a beautiful, detailed response. Hearing you say things that so many of them you were saying, and I feel them and can't always describe them, or just to hear somebody else say these incredible ways that you can make your life so much better and just so much more fulfilling and peaceful and joyful. It made me so happy to hear that there are other people out there who are helping other people do this. And I think now, instead of trying to explain it to others, I can either just flick them over to you, or who knows, maybe I can explain it better now myself.
Sure, you have the answer, so thank you. Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of, think of it this way, you have a lot of knowledge and wisdom within yourself. You just have to dig it out sometimes. You just have to let it out. Listen to certain parts of you. You know, we hear sometimes like wisdom whispers. So we have to be very careful and pay attention, because it's not going to yell into your face like the solutions or the great options. They won't yell into your head. They will whisper, and you have to become more grounded, or maybe more quiet to listen and hear it all, because it's there. There is this, if I were to think of the woman, of the mother, of the wise woman, there's so much within our own DNA and our cells and our history. And men the same, like we all have a purpose and a role. Together we should be in harmony, because we can grow together. Yes, have a self journey. It always starts there, but don't isolate. So if you start doing your own exploration, don't isolate, because we do go further faster together. This is why we do this, right? To share. And we all learn from each other. I'm still learning from other people. I'm still learning from your experiences. I'm not all knowing, but I do have answers within myself that work for me, and I put out there for people to explore and experience for themselves. And don't take everything I say for granted. Go and live it, because that's how you know it, right? And one thing, don't ever compare yourself to me or to anyone else. Our journeys are different. Our experiences could be different, our upbringing. And you don't want to compare yourself and hold yourself in a lock pattern where you're like, well, I'm not where she's at. It's not going to work. Well, I'm not looking like her. I'm not communicating like her. So what? Do you think I've always been this way? I grew up in Romania. If I was talking to my mom now, I'm like, can we dig up some of my old photos? Like me as a kid or a teenager. I didn't always look this way. I didn't always communicate this way. When I came to Canada in 2007, imagine the accent I had and the way I spoke, right?
Yeah.
So don't compare. Always make sure you live it through your own life, your own experience. And if you need help, reach out. Do not try and figure out for yourself sometimes, because it may be a little bit harder. And at least I know I've muddled through for 17 years now. That's why I can talk about certain things or experience certain things. So sometimes having someone to support you and guide you, or at least point you to the right direction, it's a great start. So don't be afraid to ask for help or to ask questions or to reach out to people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I think it's a very good, powerful message in the end to all the audiences that, explore is the word that I can say, take it from here, because there is nothing better than explore, because you came here to explore, and there is no such thing that you can't do this and you can't do that, or you have to depend on others. So when you explore yourself, you get all the answers that you need. And that is what it matters to your well-being as well. As she finally puts it, Alexandra, her message, I was looking at her, that you can create your own life and you can create your own story. So this is
that's my tattoo.
That's your tattoo. Okay.
Tattoo.
Which
like
is
a heartbeat and a feather, right? You can create your own life. You can write your own story. You can erase and rewrite if you need to.
Yeah, and this is what you are made up of, and this is what people will know about you, rather than you putting yourself into somebody else's shoes and thinking and doing or depending. Create your own and create your own story, basically. So that's a powerful message that I would like to take, and that's your independence as well, and that's not your dependence. So independent is so important for every human being, because we are unique in our own way. And intimacy for everyone is different, but uncovering your own intimacy is something that Alexandra has today showed us, how to uncover your own intimacy. little bit, not much, but yeah, we will definitely, I would love to have more and more of this exploring and more elaborating on this topic, because this is a very vast topic, as you mentioned. It has got lots of effects from your cultural background, from your community backgrounds, then the mindsets, your perceptions of the communities and people around you. There's a lot of different things goes with this one simple topic. But it's up to you how you actually want to perceive it and make your own, which is what you said in the end, make your own story. This is how you can create your own story through your own journey. And then people will start liking your intimacy and my intimacy. Different people's intimacy could be very different. But again, I wanted to also thanks once again for her, because that's a great insight of, like, people have got a wrong illusion or wrong impression about intimacy means only man, woman. Intimacy means only partners or romantic or sexual or physical. But what today we have learned and understood, there are a lot of things that goes with intimacy. And sexual is nothing bad or stigma or ring. It's just a part and parcel of a human being, which is required for our evolvement, because we came through that and we will evolve through that, basically. So there is nothing wrong in talking about it or discussing about it. But most importantly, understanding is the key thing that I could take it from here. Does that sum up, Alex?
For sure. And if your audience has questions,
Sure.
wherever you post the video, they can type under it. You can make a collection of questions, and then next time we could just answer questions directly from the audience. what they're experiencing, what they're going through, because we talk a lot generic terms and we talk about like how we're trying to cover a lot of area and a lot of ground. We talk through our own experience, but let's hear from you, your experience, what you're struggling, what you're dealing with, what you want more of, right? At the end of the day, then we can address things that way at some point. And you summed it up really well. And I want to leave everyone with a little exercise.
Yeah.
You can build intimacy with yourself or with your partner through this exercise. And not just romantic partners, meaning friends, family, children, whatever. So it's called eye gazing. I'm sure you've heard of it. If you have not, you can look it up. But eye gazing, it's a simple exercise of just eye gazing. That's it. You just look at yourself. When was the last time you woke up, you went to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, do you even look at yourself? So eye gazing is just an exercise where you can start with a few seconds. If it's uncomfortable, you could start with a minute or two, whatever it's comfortable for you. Take a mirror, go somewhere in the mirror and just look at yourself in your own eyes. No words needed, no compliments, no nothing. Can you really see yourself fully? But you really see yourself. Look at yourself deeply, observe yourself and see what experience you have. And then you can do that with a partner. Just sit across from each other, across from a friend, across from a parent, across from anyone, and look at each other in each other's eyes. No words needed, no compliments, not even touching. Just see each other. Be present and really see each other. I've seen people cry. I've seen people become emotional. I've seen people uncomfortable, laughing, trying to look away, wanting to talk, wanting to touch, because we're not used to fully seeing ourselves or someone else. And then if you are in a relationship, a romantic relationship, you can take this exercise to the next level and you connect physically, if you know that position where you embrace yourself and you connect on other parts of your body and just hold each other and look at each other while your body is connected. See what that does to you.
Wow. Powerful. What do you think, Haley? This is beautiful.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's great.
See
I'm just
yourself.
sitting here enjoying the whole thing. It's lovely.
Yes, I think that's a powerful end, Alexandra, that you did, was see yourself. And I think this is exactly comes back to the emotional well-being, to the spiritual level, to the self-realization of looking inside yourself. So first and foremost is look into your own eyes before you look into others' eyes. Then you will understand that you can look into others' eyes and you feel the same, basically. So first, love your eyes, love your ears, love your own body and mind and everything. And so, yeah, I get very good, powerful message. So look yourself in, look, whether it's partners, whether it's colleagues, doesn't matter. We are all humans and we all love humans. And I think that's a powerful message for me. When you say that you look yourself and look into each other's eyes is exactly what humanity is all about, to be honest. And I can end it this way. And yeah, thank you once again for Alexandra, to your esteemed time that you have given to me and to everyone, the audiences. As she said, please write questions, please ask questions, any intimate questions that you would like to ask. Alexandra is your answer. So I'll leave it at there, and then we will bring her for answering your questions. But also, if you need some other topic or if you want to expand some other layers that she spoke today, please write to us so that we can dwell on that topic as well. But we will bring more and more from her expertise, wisdom that she can share with us, which is her own experiences, which we love. This is again a real human talking, a real talk with her real experiences and real wisdom sharing. And we all actually share and we all actually learn from each other, ultimately. This is how we evolve. So once again, thanks very much, and bye for now, all the audiences. Please do write, as Alexandra's mentioned. We will send our email and everything underneath, and just write your questions, write your feedback, and what topic you would like to hear from her. With that, I end this conversation. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Alexandra.
Thank you.
Thank you